Welcome to Sip Sip Hooray. I'm Mary Babbitt.
And I'm Mary Orland, and we've got a very special edition of our podcast for you today. Usually we're talking about wine and how fun it is. Well, it's been a little bit challenging the past 2 months or so. And we've invited 3 guests to join us to talk about what it's been like to be at a winery with a tasting room that's been closed for the past 2 months, and how they've been and are engaging with all of us and keeping us, our spirits up and keeping us, in wine. So we're so delighted to have everyone here, and everyone has a different approach to what they've been doing, a very creative outlook, and we're going to talk about that.
Yes, we're excited to have with us today Bradley Brown from Big Basin Vineyards, Stephanie Honig from Honig Vineyards and Winery, and Ann Kraemer from Yorba Wines and Shake Ridge Vineyards. Thank you all for being here. And I know that, like everyone else across the country, coronavirus has turned your businesses upside down. So we're hoping you can share with us some of your ways that you're creatively getting through this difficult time. And maybe we'll start, though, by having you guys introduce yourselves. So maybe, Stephanie, can you start us out?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Stephanie Honig, and I work with my family in our winery. I handle sales and communications for the business. We are in Rutherford, so right in the geographic center of the Napa Valley. We're 3rd generation, and we make exclusively Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay, Bradley, can you talk?
Sure. I'm Bradley Brown. I'm the founder, proprietor of Big Basin Vineyards. I've been in charge of the viticulture and winemaking. We've been around for about 20 years now. And we're located right in the middle of the Santa Cruz Mountains near Big Basin Redwood State Park, which is where we take our name from. And we make Pinot, Syrah, various Rhone varietals, and we do one Bordeaux blend. We also, in addition to our own estate vineyard, which is CCUF certified organic, we also work with some vineyards in the Gabilan Mountains, which is a real favorite place of mine, and also some other vineyards here in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Great.
Thanks, Bradley. Ann?
Yes, and I'm Ann Kraemer, and I farm Shake Ridge Vineyards with my entire family, and we take a little bit of the fruit for our Yorba wines. So we're in the Amador County in the Sierra foothills, right outside of the old historic town of Sutter Creek. And we grow too many varieties, but they all work because we have a lot of microclimates on our vineyard. Tempranillo, Barbera, Syrah, and who am I forgetting? Zinfandel, of course, it's Amador County. But so we're both focused on the vineyard. We have 34 winemakers that buy fruit from us. And that's my main focus as the vineyard manager, but I'm also kind of in charge of the winery too, though I have a great tasting room manager who's now doing lots of other things.
Well, speaking of that leads me to my first question. So what's it been like for you all the past 2 months or so in terms of what would be going on in the vineyard and in the wine, not so much the vineyard, but the winery, the tasting room, with welcoming guests, with events going on, and with you going to trade tastings such as Rhone Rangers or Napa Valley Wine Auction, all of which have been canceled. Kind of give us a little idea of what has changed and what we haven't been able to experience lately. And Anne, let's start with you.
It just stopped. So we were pretty much 95% out of our tasting room. Again, just because we were, I wanted to focus more on the vineyard. And so the idea was just to make enough wine that we could sell at the tasting room. And I had just signed a contract with the local marketing gal to help me on social media stuff. And so she asked me right away, do you want to cancel that contract? I said, no, I think I really need you now. So she's helped me, and we've come up with a series. So we pretty much just are making contact virtually. I mean, we are definitely keeping in touch with all of our wine club members, and because we were just in the midst of a wine club shipment of which we canceled. I didn't want anybody to feel like they had to, but almost everybody has picked up their, or we've sent it to them. So we're trying to keep up with our established customers who feel a lot like friends and acquaintances, especially because of Kelsey. She's just amazing connecting with people. So she's been calling and emailing the established ones, but then just to kind of keep a connection to our community, we just started doing a lot of things online, which is so not me, but with this gal Gigi's help, we first did a cooking class. And so it was a series of 3 where we paired a recipe with a wine, sent out the recipes, and then cooked online with this young chef that actually is now working in the vineyard because he's not doing chef stuff. And his name is Justin Lewis, and I'll get into him later, but he's been a key component of this. I just think wine is food and community, so we've pretty much focused on that. And then we also started a series of concerts with our other Shake Ridge winemakers called Songs from Shake Ridge. And so this Sunday will be our last one. And the first one was Gigi's relatives were actually Watkins family, which is, they used to be with Nickel Creek and have quite a following. And so that actually brought us a whole new connection to a lot of new people. And the other musicians have also been from kind of out on just a whole different audience. And so that's been really good.
Super fun. We'll hear more about those creative ideas like that. It sounds like you guys have been busy, but we'll come back to you. We'll circle back to you, Anne. But let's go to Bradley now and tell us how has COVID-19 impacted your winery, and then later we'll come back around and ask what are you doing about it. But like, what was spring supposed to look like, and what's it look like instead?
Well, and no doubt it's been a seismic shift for us as well, and I was about to I started actually already visiting various markets where we have our wines distributed, and we're mainly in high-end restaurants in those markets. So I had just visited the Baltimore, DC area like beginning in March, was quite nervous about flying at that time. And then of course, right after that's when everything got crazy. And so all my additional market visits were canceled. And of course, in California, everything came to a standstill in terms of sales to restaurants, of course, which was a big part of our distribution business. But fortunately, distribution isn't a huge part of our business. It's maybe 20 to 30%. And so, we're a lot of direct-to-consumer sales. And we had numerous events scheduled this year. We have a summer series called Fireside Fridays. We have live music and food trucks and other food purveyors in the vineyard on Friday evenings. And that was getting to be really popular last year. So I was really looking forward to it personally, because I believe a big part of our business is really connecting with our customers and establishing those relationships and friendships. And that's always been a big part of it for us. So, all those events we've had to cancel. Any larger tastings that we were going to go to, of course, were all canceled. And so, we found ourselves basically cut off from our normal avenues of personal connection with people. Email and social media to me doesn't really replace it. And so many of our customers are not huge social media people. So it's been a challenge.
And Stephanie, what's your experience been?
Well, we have a very different model, and it's interesting in hearing, everybody's different business model, right? Than Anne and Bradley. So, we started selling wine in the early 80s when direct-to-consumer wasn't really, the way to go. So our brand is heavily in the wholesale market. So our direct-to-consumer business only accounts for 13% of our production, and that includes our website, our tasting room, and our wine club. So our wine club is still alive and well, and we're connecting with our wine club members. Tasting room obviously is closed. We have curbside pickup, and we're selling online. In the distribution world, we're a heavy on-premise or a heavy restaurant and hotel brand. So unfortunately, all that business has dried up. But we do sell in some independent retailers and a few chains, not in big box stores, but some stores. So that business is strong. So we've seen markets that are heavier in restaurants and hotels and country clubs like Florida or New York. Those markets the numbers have been down significantly, while markets that are more retail based like New Jersey and Texas have been doing well. So we're still April of this year, April through May, actually, we're tracking at about 50% of the sales that we were at the same time last year. So we still have some sales, but we're way down.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange? You know, it's that whole notion of a new normal, right? So you can see a trend of sales, but it's half of what it was a year ago.
Right.
So the good news is you've got something happening. The bad news is half of what it should be.
Right.
So Anne started talking about this a bit, but I'd like to get back to it. Some of the creative ways you guys are coping and how you have trying to turn lemons into lemonade at your wineries. I know that we're recording today via Zoom, and I know all three of you have probably been involved in a lot of Zooms over the last couple of months, because that seems to be a new way of getting in touch or staying in touch with people. So can you guys tell me a bit about how you're reaching out to customers? Bradley, you want to start?
Yeah, you know, I immediately just thought, okay, how can I find the silver lining in this? And so we did establish a Zoom series with every Friday. We call it Winemakers in Your Home, and where we connect with our customers. And we created a special set of library wines. Actually, I wanted to kind of make available some of our best library wines that are ready to go right now to encourage people to do this, because I knew a lot of people might not, avail themselves of the opportunity. So, we captured, I'd say, a percentage of our customers. And the really cool thing I discovered with that is just like suddenly we were interacting with customers that don't live near us. So we were connecting with people far and wide, which has been something that I want to see continue out of this pandemic, and that we continue to afford people who are customers in other states the ability to connect with us, to do remote virtual tastings. And we're kind of in the process now of putting out a 6-pack of 100 ml bottles that allows people to get like a personalized one-on-one Zoom tasting with our staff. So trying to get as close to, the tasting room experience as you can. Of course, a big part of the tasting room experience is the beauty of the vineyards. They're just, interacting with that staff face to face. And then the other thing we did is we also offered free local delivery, which I guess we can do now kind of temporarily per regulations, which is kind of nice. And we don't have to kind of dance around the terminology too much. And people love that. So actually our sales to consumers are up over last year.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, pretty amazing. People are sticking with the wine club. We're not getting normal attrition there. Because, all wine clubs have attrition. And that was one of my greatest fears is like, rooms open, how are we going to reach all these new customers that, join our wine club and become direct to consumer with us. So we're really having to think a lot more outside of the box and think, how do we reach out to people? How do we connect with people who signed up to our mailing list? We did have a nice mention in Food and Wine magazine that's just had a ton of people kind of discovering us for the first time, because we are a small winery. We make only 5,000 cases a year. And, since it's not widely distributed, a lot of people don't know about us. So that's been pretty cool. So we're trying to reach out to those people who are remote, where normally they just have to kind of take a roll of the dice and order your wines online. And I like send them a little tasting kit and really introduce them to us and take that customer to the next level. So
I have a girlfriend group that we've all ordered a little tasting kit, and we're going to do a virtual tasting coming up.
I'm excited.
Looking forward to that.
That's going to be fun.
And that's the cool thing about this that I see as a silver lining, is that so many people have been able to interact directly with you all, with the wine. I mean, I've been part of Bradley's Winemaker in Your Home series, and that's been kind of fun because, people are from all over. They can ask questions. You give us a vineyard update and tell us what's going on. And Stephanie, I understand you've done some very interesting Zooms with a wide variety of groups. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's been fun. So we've, moved a lot of what we were doing to a digital world. And so we've been working with some businesses, right? So like Google and Dell and some groups of friends, and I've done like 30-year high school reunion anniversary. So I've done all the, people buy wine and then we do virtual tastings. So
wait, back that up. So you did a high school reunion. Is that what you said?
30, they couldn't get together. It was the Palo Alto, 30th year high school reunion. Wow. And a good friend of mine went there. So she's like, we can't get together. And we just do a virtual tasting. Buy wine. And I'm like, sure. So we did that. And then, different events. A friend of mine works for Google. So we did that. We had 130 employees. Google bought the wine for everybody, and I did a wine class. It was a basic wine class for them. Yeah, I have one tonight with a different organization. So I've been doing a lot of that, and then some, individuals that had anniversaries or birthdays, or that want to invite their friends. So I'll be part of that conversation. So that's been super fun. And then I started doing on Instagram Live. I met a few celebrities through an event that I was involved in about 3 years ago, and I reached out to James Tupper and Pablo Schreiber, and last night I did one with Bellamy Young from Scandal. And we go on Instagram Live, and it's not really a tasting. I send them wine, and we do address the wine and say, well, what are we drinking, and the Sauvignon Blanc, and I describe it. But we really use wine as a catalyst to talk about anything else, right? So I asked them what they're working on. I asked them what, Bellamy's in New York, what's happening in New York, and she sang, and we saw her dog. And so it's really a connection. It's really connecting with people. I mean, it's not really about selling right now. It's about creating fun content and engaging with people, staying relevant. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Oh, that's super fun. I love that. Good for you. Way to think out of the box, right?
Sure, absolutely.
It's been fun, and I have fun doing it, right? You have fun.
That helps a lot.
Doing it.
Yeah,
right?
it does. It does. So,
you mentioned concerts earlier. Anne, am I right? You were talking about some music events you've done?
Yes. And again, you got a very low tech person here, so I have to admit, sound quality is definitely improving as we go along. It's pretty fun on Zoom where, we keep thinking, we should do these Instagram Live or the other formats, but there's something about seeing everybody in their living rooms kind of swaying back and forth to the music. And I'm getting better about keeping the performer spotlighted and everybody muted. But we just decided to keep doing it that way. So they're small. We usually have 100 registrants that come. The Nickel Creek people were a lot more, but the other ones aren't. He was a West African jazz performer from New Orleans, who's a friend of the family, did one, and then actually my brother-in-law did the third one. But it's been very, very cool because, again, they do draw from a different audience than our normal wine. And it's like what Stephanie said, it's more about building community.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. It's put us all into this position of having to take more of a performer. I mean, of course, being people in the wine business and getting in front of people all the time, we're used to that. But in this digital world, we have to think way more of this entertainment factor than we normally do. We have to think of ways to make this more interesting for people. It's like, the virtual tastings have kind of, the basic out of the box virtual tastings kind of gotten panned, right?
Right.
Really boring and kind of, technical. And so you have to find ways to make it more entertaining for people. So that's pretty cool.
I love it. You're putting some more tools in your toolbox there, up in your game. I love it.
Yeah, so I'm curious, Bradley, you mentioned that, you want to continue some of this even once the tasting room reopens and you can have visitors. I'm curious, Stephanie and Anne, is there anything that you all want to keep doing once business reopens?
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead? Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
No, I think it's a great tool. I mean, nothing replaces being at the winery and engaging with people face to face and having the experience of the place. So I'm not saying it's going to replace it by any means, but it gives us a chance. It's the next best thing, right? If you can't come here, if you can't fly across country, if you can't fly from wherever you're coming from, it gives you an opportunity to engage with someone. So what we've done on our website is when people buy wine, there's an option that they can click on to add a virtual tasting.
Oh, okay.
So that way it gives them the opportunity, if they want to taste them with a staff member or someone from our hospitality team and get the education piece of it, they can.
Is there an extra fee for that?
There's not, no. With with the wine, it's an option, a free option with the wine purchase.
Nice.
That's very cool.
And we're going to keep doing these series. We just finished up our travels with Yorba, which was more, I had people send us photographs from their journeys. And so we did Spain and tasted our Tempranillo this week. And we made chorizo, which ended up being not very successful, but it was funny. And romesco sauce. And then we talked about Tempranillo in Spain. Anyway, so we just finished up that series, and then the next series we're going to do is a virtual edition of our annual open house at the Vineyard, which is called Taste of the Ranch. So this is what happens when people are on furlough. I got this great videographer for free to do an amazing trip through the vineyard, and so we'll use that as interludes, and we're going to taste and have music and split it up between 3 weekends. So we'll do that for June, and then I've got things planned for July and August if we need to. So, and I think we might do them regardless, because I think there's going to be a lot of people who aren't still going to be comfortable coming to tasting rooms. So I think we're just going to plan on keeping this element going.
Nice.
Sure.
Nice. I know for a lot of business owners and employees in general, a lot of Californians, coronavirus has caused a lot of anxiety and stress. And so I'm curious to know how you guys are coping with any anxiety or stress or worries that you may be feeling regarding your business or just regarding the pandemic in general. Are there coping mechanisms that you all are using? Stephanie, you want to start?
Sure. It's been really hard. I'm not gonna, my husband and I, we travel all the time for the business, and it's been a huge adjustment for us. We have 4 kids at home, so it's been the whole balance of trying to homeschool and still keep the business afloat because sales are, have dropped tremendously. So it's been very difficult. We also want to lead by example and be optimistic because we know we will come out of this, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of getting through this really hard time. So, and have that role model for both our kids and our employees. So, we kept all of our employees here. We haven't furloughed anybody, and we just retrained people for different roles. So tasting room people are in the lab or in the cellar, just doing different jobs. And just, it sounds, silly, or it sounds obvious, but, we're all struggling with this to one degree or another. We have good days and bad days. So just having that connection to our employees and reaching out, since we are a largely distributed brand, reaching out to distributor reps who are furloughed and buyers who aren't working right now, and our customers and our wine club, and just having that connection and that, empathetic talk and checking in is, we can all get so sucked in what we're struggling with, but just the outreach has been really important. Try to stay connected with people.
How about you, Bradley?
Yeah, well, we managed to kind of redeploy some of our tasting room staff to do the local deliveries and came up with things for them to do. And now it's, this somewhat tenuous repackaging of wine in 100 ml bottles, which we're still making sure works 100%. It's like a lot of argon gas required, and the wines will never be 100%, but we believe we can that they're good to go for a week to 2 weeks in these little bottles. So we'll see how that goes, but that provides a bunch of additional work too, and getting all these tasting kits out, and then having those personal tastings with people. And whether it's just one-on-one with a couple or people who are getting together with their girlfriends like Mary, who want to connect with girlfriends that are far and wide, who maybe normally don't get together that often anyway. So it's kind of fun. So we've done that. And of course, everything in the winery and in the vineyards has had to proceed as it always would. And so that part is retained a sense of normalcy, I think, for me. But I have 2 kids that I've had to homeschool part-time, and that's been pretty challenging. I definitely don't get as much work done, but now that I'm not traveling as much, I guess it's been a little easier. But I've found that, I've turned to, getting really into cooking more and exercising a lot more and getting more serious about, my physical health, and just trying to put some time and energy into that. And of course, raiding my cellar for some really good bottles to enjoy here.
We've all been doing that.
Good call. And what about you? What are the stressors and how are you coping?
Oh, it's so interesting because I live on the vineyard, and the vineyard is just the same as always.
Yeah.
And so if I'm but I'm stressed about, are all my winemakers going to be okay? And be able to buy grapes this year and in the future, and same thing with wine cells, and what's going to happen, and is everybody going to stay healthy? That hits me at 2 a.m. So I deal with stress from 2 to 4 a.m. and I don't know what to do about that. But during the day, I go for a walk in the vineyard, and it takes about 5-10 minutes, and I'm fine. I'm starting to worry. Okay, there's blue. I worry about the normal things I worry about.
Yeah, back to your regular worries.
So it's not that I don't have worries, but those ones I know how to deal with.
All right, so we'll wrap up with one more question. Just if you all can tell us, what are your hopes for reopening? Just briefly, what you think it's going to look like when you can once welcome people back.
Wow, that's a good question. Well, maybe I'll just kick in here and start. Santa Cruz County has applied for a variance with the state, and we're supposed to be going into phase 2. And of course, it's dine-in restaurants is potentially part of that, and that's created quite a bit of controversy in the wine business because not very many wineries have a CUP, conditional use permit, to be a restaurant in addition to a tasting room. But, we have a great outdoor tasting area, but it looks like we'll be able to bring in food trucks. So if we can find some that aren't totally booked up already, then we'll at least have hopefully 1 day a week starting maybe in a couple of weeks, where we can have reservation based, people come in, we could have a food truck. So we'll have to, everything has to be billed through the winery now. That may potentially change. There's big lobbies, but the state's real concerned about kicking people into tourism mode and having people travel all over the state to go wine tasting. So I think that's one of the big fears of wineries opening up in any way, shape, or form. But, I don't know, maybe they could put other things around that. I mean, a lot of our customers are local. We're not quite as big of a wine tourism area as the Napa area, or even the Sierra foothills. So, if we could even welcome our customers back on some limited basis. So that's what we're really hoping for, is that, we could even have a musician there, and have people sit down and eat and do our normal Fireside Friday, really. And, it's spaced out anyway, so.
Yeah. And Stephanie, what about at Honig?
So we are in stage 2. So restaurants are open to 25% capacity. We are supposed to be in the next stage. And some of the procedures and policies we've put in place are really to, we want everybody to be safe, right? We want to be able to reopen and build up to where we were before, but that'll take time. So we have, we're going to limit, we're by appointment only, and that's our county permit. So that's existed. But that's existed forever, but it will help us now really regulate when people are coming. So our permit allows us to have 100 people a day. We will limit it to a maximum of 20 people at a time. We don't have a bar set up or seating, outdoor space. So we will have designated areas for different groups. We'll do things like having one staff person assigned to the group the entire way through their visit. So from greeting to serving to selling to everything. Bathrooms will be sanitized in between each use. Of course, masks for all of our employees. And things like avoiding when little things that you don't even think about that we're having to go through now, or, when the glasses come out of the dishwasher, they come out clean, but they come out wet. So we're always having someone buff them. But now we're not going to do that because we want to eliminate as much contact as possible. So you're going to get a spotty glass and it's going to be clean, but at least we didn't go through, another person using a rag and using their hands. So just, thinking through all those little details to make sure people
That's a lot.
feel safe. Yeah.
That's a lot of planning. And Anne, how about you all?
We are also in the stage 2, and we're actually already permitted as a restaurant, but I just didn't want to compete with the restaurants in town. And I actually didn't want to deal with it, to tell you the truth. But what we're planning on doing, definitely reservations. We can sit 3 groups inside the tasting room and 3 to 4 outside safely. We won't do that many to start with, but my idea is that when people come in, their flight is already poured at the table for them.
Yeah.
So our tasting room staff can stay 6 feet away and have a good conversation with them, but not be constantly coming up to pour for them.
So it sounds like there's a lot of hope out there, and we hope to be back in soon. And we need to end this now, but thank you all so much for joining us. I think it's really been a great discussion.
Absolutely. Bradley Brown from Big Basin Vineyards, Stephanie Honig from Honig Vineyards and Winery, and Ann Kraemer from Yorba Wines and Shake Ridge Vineyards. Thank you all for being with us today. We wish you good health, and we hope you come out of this thing stronger and more successful than ever.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, you guys. Sip hooray.
Cheers. Yeah, sip, sip, hooray.